Game Boy. Actually, this is the Game Boy Color that I have. The reason why I have this Game Boy Color instead of the original Game Boy is because this one is one of the best handhelds in my opinion, or best Game Boys in my opinion. The original Game Boy originally had a black and white screen that wasn't color until this came out, and it didn't have no backlit screen. And it had your action buttons and had a Game Link cable which was used for certain games, like to trade your Pokemon, and there was other accessories like the rechargeable battery pack and a few others. And several Game Boys came out after the original Game Boy, like the Game Boy Pocket, the Game Boy Light, the Game Boy Color, and on up. Well, I'm not gonna say much about the rest of the Game Boys, but what I know that the Game Boy Pocket, still didn't have no backlit screen, but one of the first editions did have no battery light, and the second iterations did later on. And the Game Boy Pocket took 2 AAA batteries instead of your big AA batteries. And the Game Boy Light did have a backlit screen, but it was Japan only. This Game Boy Color that I have was full color, took 2 AA batteries, and it had an infrared port on the top. The Game Boy Advance, however, didn't have no backlit screen, but it was widescreen, took 2 AA batteries, and it had an e-reader accessory, which you could play e-reader games with. Actually took on cards instead of cartridges, which you would put an e-reader like an original Game Boy or Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance cartridge would. And the Game Boy Advance SP had 2 different versions. One with the front lit screen, which wasn't very good at all, and the second one did have a brighter backlit screen. And both of them had flip out screens. And the Game Boy Micro, what needs to be said about that? You can change the face plates and you can put it in the back to keep it safe. That's all I know of. Alright, and that's about it for the Game Boy information that you need to know. Let's move on to the games. And not only I'm going to show my Game Boy Color games, but also I'm going to show my Game Boy Advance games, which my entire Game Boy collection is just absolutely small in like this year. Hopefully it will grow up more. So let's get started. First game I have is Tetris DX. This game was originally released on the Game Boy and the NES, and then it had Tetris Attack, which was a Yoshi game that was released on the SNES and Game Boy, and then there was a compilation that was released on the Super NES with Dr. Mario, and we got this. This game just got released multiple times, but that first one was released was on the NES and the Game Boy. This game was actually one of the launch titles for the Game Boy Color and several others. I'm not gonna name one of them because I don't want to spoil it for you guys. And this game was one of the first Game Boy Color games I've got, which will soon be 2 years ago. And there's not much to be said about that. It's your standard puzzle game like Dr. Mario and what have you. Next game I have is Game & Watch Gallery 2. This game was an online order. Actually, my only Game Boy game I had that had to be ordered online, which is my 20th one overall. This game, well, what needs to be said, it's just Game & Watch with a compilation of Game & Watch games. And yeah, I mean, this game allows you to play modern Game & Watch games and the classic ones. And that's about it. And there's not much to say about this game. It's just good. Next game I have is Game & Watch Gallery 3. There's not much to say about part 3. It's just really good. I know there's Game & Watch Gallery 4 on the Game Boy Advance, which I will get that game at some point. Just my my Game Boy collection and my DS collection is just god awful small and nothing else. So yeah, Game & Watch games, what have you. What can you do? Next game I have is Donkey Kong Country. As you can tell on the label, there's this red sticker right here, but not a sticker, but the notice right here. It says not for resale. I'm not sure if that this game actually came with the Game Boy Color itself, or it was just put there for something. I couldn't find any information where this game was packed with the Game Boy Color, or maybe it was just like a transition or something like that. That's all I know of. And the second reason is, not a reason, but the weird thing is that this game actually had different ports. The first one was on the Super NES, and two the Donkey Kong Country games. And then we got the Game Boy Color version, which we only got the first game. And then we got all three re-released on the Game Boy Advance. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. I mean, what else can you say about it? It's just Donkey Kong. That's it. 16-bit, and then we had an 8-bit version, and then we had the 32-bit version. And my final Game Boy Color game I have is Mario Tennis. Well, people would prefer the N64 version, but in my opinion, I actually like both the versions. And yeah, there's not much to say about it. I'm looking forward to the other Mario Tennis games soon. Just like the one on the Game Boy Advance and the one on 3DS when I soon to get the 3DS though. And yeah, there's not much to say about it. I have 3 Game Boy Color black Game Boy cartridge games and 2 clear Game Boy Color only games. This collection needs to be fixed and it needs to grow pretty much. And same thing for the Game Boy Advance, which we will get to though right now. Alright, now to my Game Boy Advance stuff, which is Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. Yeah, I actually got this for my 11th birthday along with the DS Lite, that red and black or crimson black, which I think what the color is called. But yeah, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. Actually, all the Super Mario Advance games are good. I haven't tried them yet, and I haven't picked them up yet, so maybe someday I'll pick them up. But my collection of Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance games needs to be fixed. And my final Game Boy Advance game I have is this. The Runaway Rainbow. I really hate my speech impediment on this piece of crap stuff. It's just retarded and all that other crap stuff. It's just full of crap when it's just it's just why does my speech impediment get in the freaking way? I don't freaking understand why my speech impediment just gets in the freaking way. It's just bullcrap. But the game itself is just weird, but I haven't played it that much. I'm probably never gonna go back to this game. Not freaking... Not at all. And, so we have the Game Boy Color itself. Let me lower the tripod down so you guys can see it better. And the games itself. Yeah. Hope you all enjoyed this piece of crap retard video. I guess next up is going to be the DS collection, which is not going to be that fun because it's just so small. I'm probably not going to ask why this collection and the other collection I'm going to be posting, it's just... Holy freaking crap. This is actually crock of crap for this collection. Hope to see you on the DS collection. If you're interested, feel free to hit the like and subscribe. So hope you all enjoyed this piece of crap, crock of crap, wherever you want to name this. And hopefully you stay tuned for my DS collection, which will be coming up. And I will see you all later. Peace out.